Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, reporting on a song that's kind of, the announcement for it has been a little bit of a train wreck. Maybe not a train wreck, but it's been a little bit all over the place. I'm talking, of course, about the premiere of Austria's song, where I think it was somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m. yesterday, they leaked the song by putting it up for sale on Amazon or something like that, even though they were supposed to actually release it today, which is, well, they released a music video for it on the Eurovision YouTube channel today because this was the day they were supposed to, and then they released it a day early, so the review is technically a day early, and here we are, hello, hi. The song is performed by Nathanael Koll, whose stage name is Nathan Trent, and the title is Running on Air, which I had originally put Walking on Air, and I feel like I was born in a parallel universe where that's what the song was called, but no, it's Running on Air. It's completely in English, and music and lyrics by Nathan Trent and Bernhard Penzias. Penzias? Penzias, I'm not sure. Is that an Austrian name? Because it sounds more like Italian or Spanish. Does it matter? It's a good song. But, spoilers. First impressions. It's a good song. No. But yeah, Austria just so happens to be another one in this sequence of countries that I've been reviewing in a row, coincidentally, where it's impossible to predict what sort of thing they're going to send next. And this song, as a follow-up to Zoe, to the Make-Makes, to Conchita, Natalia, the Trackshitters, and so on, that just keeps that trend alive, quite frankly. I've referred to other songs this year as sounding refreshing, at least in terms of their genre, their presentation, and that sort of thing. But this one I find to be refreshing on a completely different level and in a completely different way. The best way I could put it is, it's morning music. No, not music to listen to at a funeral, that's morning music. But no, morning music as in time in the AM that is before 12 p.m. It's the sort of thing that you could play on the radio at, say, 7 or 8 in the morning, and it would sound welcome rather than being too much or too heavy or too much at once or whatever. It's not too mentally taxing, but in a good way. And the music video is kind of adorable as well. So let's dive right into my analysis and work out what makes this entry tick. Damn it, I should have used that pun in the Ukrainian review. Anyway, first and foremost, I do have to praise this song on being, as I said, morning music. It's not an easy genre to pull off, especially while still being as engaging as this song is. It's suitable music to eat breakfast to without being too high energy where you just think, it's too early for this, turn it off. But at the same time, it doesn't just blur out into being background noise. It's not too hard on your brain, but it's also not too patronizingly simple. It has its own profound, prevalent identity without being too much. I don't know how else I can articulate that. It's soothing, but engaging. It's full of just the right kind of peppy energy, I feel. In a way, it actually kind of reminds me a fair bit of Yella's song from the Austrian selection a few years ago, 2013, I think it was. Feels Like Home, the song was called. Look it up. It's good. As I recall, that was my second favourite of the selection that year. I think that was the same year as Give Me a Sign. Good songs. Austria has some good songs in their repertoire, but it reminds me of one of those from then, and yeah, good. I liked it. Another thing, normally, it is rather hard to tell when you only have a studio version or a music video to judge by, and no live performance. Well, at least we don't have one as of the time of recording this video anyway, but this is one of those rare occasions where it's abundantly clear that the singer, Nathan in this case, has an incredible voice. Now, hold on to your butts. I know I've said that about a lot of singers this year, but possibly in the wake of Jamala's win, this year seems to have brought all of the great singers to the yard. And I mean, that's not to poo-poo any previous year's singers, it's just we have a lot of really competent live performers this year, and by the sound of it, Nathan's not going to be any exception to that rule. I mean, just listen to how he vocalizes, especially towards the end of the song. For him to produce a note that long and that loud and with that much power behind it, it must have taken a lot of practice. That could well be a second wind for this song when it reaches the Eurovision stage, bearing in mind, if people weren't paying attention to it at the start, maybe they'll get to the 2-minute mark, and then suddenly, whoa, he's doing the note and it's impressive, or something. Possibly. I don't know. That's what went through my mind when I was writing my notes. And not to repeat things that I've already said, but the song is so full of positive energy and bounce, particularly in the refrain, and that's kind of not a reference to, I'll Be Around brackets bounce, but that was another good song that was in an Austrian national final. But no, it's bouncy, particularly in the refrain, which makes it that much more enjoyable. It certainly put a smile on my face on my first listening of the song. I think another part of that also stems from the song's delightfully positive message as well. It's sort of like a much less melodramatic take on Slovenia's song, the whole idea of que sera sera, I can survive, and by extension that means you can too because I can, that kind of idea. And as I said with Slovenia, some people might really benefit from hearing that sort of message, especially in the world we live in times as turbulent as these. So, good on you, Austria, for being positive without being patronising, and also just generally having a really fun song. But in the name of being fair, let's flip the coin, as it were, and look at the opposite side of this. I'm running out of ways to creatively say, let's look at the things that I'm not quite so keen on with this song, and honestly, there actually isn't all that much that comes to mind for this section, at least nothing substantial anyway. I suppose the most evident thing is that the song's greatest asset is also its greatest weakness, Nathan's voice. The vocalizations towards the end are certainly impressive, and they could, as I said, turn the heads of even the most disengaged of listeners. But if he misses the note, or if he doesn't put quite enough energy into it, I've referenced this before, stuff like in 2012 with Austria, 2014 with France, if the song doesn't have that energy on the night, then it could fall flat in every conceivable meaning of the phrase, except maybe he wouldn't literally just faceplant on the stage, but other than that, the song could, go a bit flat. And that would be a crying shame for a song like this, quite frankly. Still, for him to have included that note in the song in the first place, that says to me that he must have at least some faith in his ability to achieve it live, so I'll reserve judgment on that front until we see a live performance of this song. That aside, there is the small matter of it offering a cookie, but only a niche cookie, if that makes any sense, using terminology that I've used before. If you like this genre of music, then you'll enjoy this song. If you don't like this genre of music, you'll be profoundly disinterested from start to finish. I don't think there's much that they can do about that. But if you're apathetic, if you don't have any strong opinions either way about this sort of song, that's where the difficulties arise, because it doesn't really do much to actively draw you in, apart from how strong his voice gets towards the end of the song. And that's towards the end of the song. At that point, you will have missed 2 minutes of it by the time you get interested, and of course, by that point, it's sort of too little too late, because you've already heard most of the song. You can't hear it a second time within the show that it's being performed in, is what I'm trying to say. So, all in all, this song is a gamble, but take it from me, it is worth the emotional investment if you just give him a chance. So, give him a chance! Now, for the scores out of 10, for a change, I think I'll start with a technical score. To this song, I award a 9. My first inclination was to award it a 9, because it does everything that it sets out to do fairly well, It has style, it has flair, it will punch you in the air. That is not how that goes at all. But then the thought occurred to me that maybe I should bring that down to an 8, because it will come across as boring or lackluster to people not drawn in by this genre of music, I think. And it doesn't really try to do much to bridge that gap on its own part, apart from the powerful notes, at the end of the song. But then I decided to bring that score back up to a 9 because his voice is that impressive. Technically speaking, he's got a really good voice, and that is worth recognition here. Not just in the part of the song where it's meant to sound impressive either, but throughout. He's got a lot of vocal control, and I won't let that go underappreciated. Now, as for my personal score out of 10, this kind of threw me for a loop, but 10. I'll put my hands up and admit, this took me by surprise as well, especially after hearing that the song was, quote, boring AF and an Ed Sheeran wannabe. My expectations were pretty low, but out the other side of the song, I'm actually totally on board with this one. It's cute, it's fun, it's got the right kind of energy to lift anyone's spirits, and he's got a really good voice, like I keep coming back to. It impresses me, on a personal level, not just on a technical one. Something tells me his live performance will be full of conviction and self-belief as well, always important factors in Eurovision performances. I didn't think I'd like this one as much as I do, but yeah, Austria kinda blindsided me with this one, but good on you. So how does it fare when pitted against the previous entry from Austria? I'd say tough call, but when is it not in these reviews of mine? But seriously, we've got two very different songs that appeal to two very different markets here. I think, speaking in broad general terms, I would favour Zoe here, but do hear me out. There is some thinking behind this. Both songs are immense fun, and are delivered by very compelling individuals, and in a vacuum they are both very solid pop songs. Line DC, however, strikes me as a sort of song that would just sell a lot more in every sense, just because of its leanings more towards the dance scene, and as well because of its novelty of being in French, and just how plain adorable Zoe is, and that sort of thing. That's not to say that Nathan does any of these things wrong by any means. It just seems that his song doesn't have the same flavour of immediate appeal, immediate impact, immediate offering of a cookie of some kind. Zoe's energy was an active kind that was comparatively more in your face. Nathan's is more pleasantly chilled out, but it doesn't leave quite as many people in its thrall upon first listening as a consequence. So on that basis, I will say that Zoe has the better Eurovision package, but they're both very good. Austria is, doing pretty well for themselves at the moment. So do I think it'll qualify? For the moment, I'm inclined towards yes, with the ever-present asterisk of mitigation that this one could actually flop pretty easily in theory. For now, though, for the reasoning behind my inclination towards why yes, Gianluca Bezzina qualified for Malta in 2013 with a similar-ish song, and slightly less similar, but still close enough that I feel I can compare it, Douwe Bob made it to the final for the Netherlands last year. So why shouldn't this song? It's modern, competent, impressive, delightful, and cool in its own way. It's the sort of thing that I can imagine qualifying maybe by way of the lower middle of the top 10, but to the shock and awe of the more conservative older fans who claim that it's too boring because it's not a bouncy Schlager disco whatever. I think the juries will appreciate his voice, and I think the public might just fall in love with his demeanour, which, I mean, it shines through in the song well enough. I wouldn't put money on it, but then again, I'm not a gambling man, but if we do see the song again in the final, don't say I didn't warn you. For now, though, I will say, good luck to you, Austria. You've chosen wisely again, although this year was an internal selection rather than a national final, but still, it's a good song, it stands up competitively, and I look forward to seeing what you do with it in Kiev. Good luck.